One of the mottos of the Keys for Christ Trust is from the southernmost to the uttermost. And we have a mission of planting 25 churches in 25 years, starting in the Florida Keys and then all throughout South Florida. And today I'd like for us to talk about the first of the 3 churches that we established, the Southernmost Baptist Church.
Amen.
In the southernmost city of America, Key West, Florida. So let's jump right in. Let's start with the early days. And last time we talked about the beginning of how the church started under a tent during COVID. But let's talk about when you moved down 3.5 years later and started leading the way as the pastor of the Southernmost Baptist Church.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I arrived here to be the lead pastor, my father is the founding pastor. It is very confusing for everybody. Not only because we're father and son, but my name is Maximo Juan Llama.
Right.
And his name is also Maximo Juan Llama. And so the way we kind of clear that up for our people is I am known as Pastor Max. He is known as Pastor Llama. But it's an amazing dynamic. It's a real 1-2 punch sort of combo is what we're able to do. And as you know our story, and many people who are now listening know our story from the past and the life that we've had, to now be able to serve God together.
It's amazing.
And to be such close friends and a father and son and see God working, it is amazing.
It's a miracle, really. But let's talk about when you first arrived. What was it like coming? How was the church? What was going on with all of those things?
Sure. So obviously they started out, my dad, just in total faith with a handful of people, setting up a gospel tent, preaching, people immediately being saved and being set free from addiction and having their lives changed and their families restored. Just an immediate, miraculous outcome. And so when I arrived, they were still meeting in 3 different locations a week.
Wow.
And so I arrived, and it was a really stark contrast from serving alongside Pastor Sexton there in the great Temple Baptist Church and the great Crown College and the beautiful things that have been built up by God for God's work there, and then to come back to something so basic, so primitive. And honestly, that was one of the drawing things for me, was the fact that it felt so much like New Testament Christianity. The only thing we had was God, and we found out He was enough.
Wow. And so you're meeting at 3 different locations, and I know that you even had, stuff that was stored in different locations.
Man, it was a work. We had storage units that we're renting. Every week renting a U-Haul to drive to the storage unit and get out the pulpit and the hymnals, the chairs, the sound system and the speakers, the flyers, the pictures to hang up, everything you can imagine, and then the setup and the breakdown. It was an astronomical amount of work. And so basically, at that time, we were meeting in a park for Sunday morning. We were meeting in my father's apartment for the Sunday evening service, and then we were meeting in an old stone building in the middle of the week for the midweek service. But God was doing incredible things.
Amen.
That's really an understatement, but
I think that most people don't realize the amount of extra work that you have to do whenever you don't have a permanent place and your things set up.
That is true.
What do you think that did for the people in the church just starting out, that they had to actually go to a storage unit? They had to get all the stuff. They had to set it up. They had to break it down. They had to put it all away every single week. What did that do for that core group of people?
That's true. That's a great point. Because immediately and initially, I'm thinking, this is horrible. This is a big obstacle to us actually accomplishing what we want to accomplish. Instead of wasting all this time and energy and money on these things, we'd like to do it on building the actual church. But God has a way of using everything, which is amazing, because those core people who were involved in carrying the boxes and setting up the chairs and putting everything in place, in a new church, there's not a lot that new Christians can do.
Right.
But they can help set up and break down.
That's true. Anyone can.
And God used that to really knit together the hearts of the foundational members. And they, from the very beginning, could see their part and how God could use them.
Wow.
They can be a part of what God was doing to the church right from the start. And quite frankly, I don't think that we would be where we are today if it wasn't for those obstacles.
It's incredible
that God built in.
It's amazing. Now let's fast forward a little bit. Now today, a few years later, you're averaging about 250 with nearly 500 first-time visitors last year, over 150 professions of faith, nearly 100 baptized, and 20 gospel ministries started, and then all of the Sunday schools. How is that even possible?
God.
Wow.
It's God. Mm-hmm. And if God did not use imperfect people, he would have nobody to use. And the truth of the matter, that's the simple story, is it's God. But of course, we understand that God uses people. And basically, when we arrived here, what I did was put into practice the things that I had already been putting into practice for years where we had come from there in Knoxville. And so when we arrived, the very first thing we did, I'll never forget, we first arrived, very first Sunday, I get up in church, and the people meeting there, and I say, we need to raise $50,000 to purchase a bus to begin a bus ministry.
Their eyes must have been huge.
They were. They thought, they're looking around, where is this money going to be coming from here? How is all this going to happen? And the funny thing is we got started, and many of them were really trying to wrap their mind around how we could possibly, in 1 month, we set the date, possibly, as I told them, we would have 25 children.
Wow.
And we would be teaching them the Bible. We'll have trained workers. They were trying to figure out how that would happen. And we worked at it. We went out every single day of the week in every part of town, knocking on hundreds and thousands of doors and working so hard. And on that first opening day, we did. We had 25 boys and girls there and the trained workers. And God began doing something so amazing. And he proved to our people that he was with us. And, it's funny because we're out there knocking on doors and speaking to people about a Sunday school. And many of the parents are asking me questions like, because, the nature, this is literally a mission field.
Right.
They've never had anybody
go
after them in these kind of ways.
It's true. Especially even hearing things like Sunday school.
That's right. They said Sunday school. They said they're already in school Monday through Friday. You want them to go another day? And some of them said, this sounds great. How much is this going to cost? Wow. And so we had a great time explaining to the children, the families, and all these things. And so my wife and I led the bus ministry in that Sunday school for about 3 months, and then we trained the workers. They took our place, and it just continued to grow. And then we set our sights on starting a teen Sunday school. And we did the same thing. We set a date, set a goal, had the workers. We went out and found them. We had 25 teens.
Amen.
On our opening day.
Incredible.
And we did that for 3 months. We trained the workers. They took over. And one by one then into adult classes and young adults and now men and women and couples. And now we have a First Steps class. We're getting ready to start a Spanish class. So I guess ultimately what I would say is the way that our church is organized is we're organized to function through the Sunday school. Wow. Have you heard that one before?
Incredible. Yeah, I did. That's one of Pastor Sexton's main emphasis. He always talked about those things, that we're organized to function through the Sunday school. That's where it's at. That's where you build and grow through the church. Now, the thing that I really would like to know, and maybe people who are watching and listening to this would say, well, where do you get the leaders to lead these Sunday school classes? Did you find somebody? Did you bring people down? Like, where did these people come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I would say is it's something that God does, no doubt, but there also is a part for us. And going out and building Sunday school classes is what we believe is how we are responding to the Great Commission. Jesus said, go and preach the gospel, and then to teach all nations. And he said to get those people that you reach and that you teach to the place that they're able to observe to do all things I've commanded you.
Yeah.
And so really in that Great Commission is built in where to get laborers from.
That's so true.
If you're doing what Jesus says, when you're finishing and you're into that process, laborers are going to arise. And that's really what has happened. And we do have a discipleship program that's embedded in our Sunday school that God is using. God has brought people here, and that certainly has made a difference. Now, amazingly, all of my siblings are here serving the Lord.
Right.
Obviously, one of them you're married to,
right,
serving a marathon. The other two are here, and with their husbands, Chris and Austin, and they're an indescribable blessing and help. But where do these laborers come from? They come from the people we've reached.
Yeah,
and we've taught them.
Right.
William Booth had the philosophy that the day you accept Christ and get baptized, he said, well, now let me give you a mission in a new city that needs a gospel outpost. We're not that extreme, all right? We're not sending out new converts to lead Sunday school classes. We have a time period of faithfulness that has to be proven. We have standards, they have to be saved, separated, faithful, and loyal.
Yeah.
And faithful in tithing, faithful in attendance for a period of time to demonstrate these kind of things. But at the same time, we're not waiting. Life is a vapor. And we don't have any more time. We believe Jesus is going to come. And so as soon as possible, we're putting people in a place, we're training them, we're equipping them, we're helping them launch out. While they're doing the work, we're encouraging them, we're guiding them, we're instructing them in ways to do it. And it's just incredible.
It is. It's a miracle. Now, shifting gears a little bit, how in the world did you know what to do when you came to Key West? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so obviously we both were graduates of Crown College. We were able to be members of the Temple Baptist Church and both able to assist Pastor Sexton. That's where many of these things came from, being able to work with Pastor every day in the office there. And having him really explain his vision and explain the way he saw things and what needed to be done and how it needed to be done and literally what to do. And so many of those things, no doubt, but also many have come from my own personal experience in the ministry.
Amen.
And, really getting out there and building bus routes, building Bible clubs and having Bible studies and having men's discipleship classes and all of these things, learning really how God works in people's lives. It's like a book that I believe it was G. Campbell Morgan. It might have been A.T. Pearson who wrote The Ways of God with Man. How does God accomplish his work in a person, and then finding my part in that and co-laboring with God, entering into that work with God and seeing him do it.
Yeah, no doubt. This is a journey. And sometimes there's up, sometimes they're down. It is a dogfight all the way.
That's true.
But what are maybe some things that stand out to you on this journey? Maybe key moments that you say, this is where God showed up, or this is something that, really sticks in my mind as we're going through this.
Well, I'll tell you this. We are always interested in building a ministry, a church, a class, a choir, a program. And God is too.
Yeah.
But in order for him to do that, he must first build a person.
It's true.
And the greatest thing that stands out to me is that I know God has worked all around me. It's so evident. It's unbelievable. And the many hundreds of people we've seen saved and baptized and growing and now literally serving God with us in our church, it's incredible. But the work that God has done in my own life is also incredible. And I'm humbled and I'm grateful for it. I have a long way to go. I know that this is a lifelong thing. Even the Apostle Paul said that I may know him at the end of his life. But God has done something remarkable in my own life. And it's from that. It's from that place of what this real thing that God has done and is doing for me that I seek to go out and do the things that we're doing for the Lord,
Amen. Now, what would you say are some
key things that really stand out would be the transformation of people. I mean, to see someone's life transformed, you can't order that on Amazon.
Yeah, it's true.
You can't get that with a big promotion. We're having pizza, we're having hot dogs, we're having a carnival, I'm going to do a backflip. That's not changing people's lives.
Right.
Promotion may get people there.
Sure.
But you need something a lot more powerful to keep them there.
Right.
And much more powerful than that even, to literally change their life.
Right, to actually make an impact so that their life is changed forever.
Change their beliefs, change their attitude, their heart, their habits, their relationships, their values and goals in life, and of course, change their soul from being someone who is in darkness into light, someone who is dead and now is alive with the life of God. But it's the different stories. It's the people in our church that I can point to and say, this person was homeless, and this person was sleeping under a truck, and this person was in and out of jail. This person's marriage, they came and they were getting ready to be divorced. This young person who was on his way to juvie, and now he's leading in this movement, and the things that God has done, that to me you couldn't put a price on it. It's what sticks out to me. It's the work of God in individual lives.
It's true. And, that's the story for everyone in our churches. It's the incredible thing. When I was just here the other day for one of the services of the Southernmost Baptist Church, and I look around at all the people, and I'm thinking, it's incredible. Look what God has done. I remember seeing that person
It's like,
out
how?
there. I remember seeing this person out, sitting out there by the gas station. I remember these people and what was going on in their life. And now they're key people in the church, and God has changed their life. Now, the question...
Think about this. Just this past Saturday, we had 75 people.
That's ridiculous.
Going out for visitation.
It's ridiculous.
Knocking on doors.
There's not many
in
churches
parks and tents.
in America.
It's
where that
unbelievable.
happens.
You see, because we're not just trying to have more and more people, but we're trying to see more and more in the people.
Amen.
And what we are often saying, we have a lot of mottos. One of them is, it's not how many people we can get to come.
Yeah.
It's not how many people you can get in the church building. It's how many people who are here that God transforms their life so much to the point that they're willing to go out into the community and win their friends and their neighbors and do the work of God. And that's what we see the Lord doing.
It's true. And that's a real key element. And the truth is the people that are here are out there, and they are out giving the gospel and handing out gospel tracts. We had somebody come to Marathon not too long ago that said that they were down here in Key West and got a tract.
Isn't that something? But it's amazing. It's the miracle of multiplication, because when I first arrived here, me and my father, if anyone was showing up to a church, it was us.
Yeah.
And every single service, you're preparing a sermon, you're getting the songs and the order of event. Well, it was also like, I got to try to get these people to show up and make sure someone's going to be there to preach too.
Right.
Anyone. And but now we've gotten to the place where God has built up our church people that literally most of the people, like we had 20-something first-time visitors yesterday.
Wow.
And you know how many I got there? 2.
Incredible.
It is pretty amazing.
Now, in your opinion...
I do want to say one other thing just about what we said earlier, because you said how, and I said God. And of course, on God's side, we always know that, but there is our side. And on our side, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of times, I think some churches think they're banks,
Yeah.
They just want to have a lot of money sitting in the bank, but the people of God gave that money to see God work.
To be used for God's work. Yeah.
And that's what we do. And so and we're using this. It takes a lot of faith.
Yeah.
Faith in God and the gospel. Most of what you're going to do is not going to make any sense. There's going to be a lot of people who know better, who criticize it, but you have to have real deal faith. It also takes team.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. My father and I couldn't do it. Chris and Austin and Talia and Talissa and so many people coming down, and then so many of the key people that God is raising up to lead all of these classes and these ministries and these work. It's so many things combined. There's no doubt about it. It's unbelievable.
Now, anytime you ever do something or set out to do something, there's always criticism. Is that something that you've experienced in starting this and laboring here? Is that criticism?
I'd have to say not a whole lot. We have had some, and I think that's expected. I think you can remember some of the things that Pastor would tell us about that. And but not really a whole lot. We've had a lot of people who've been on our corner, who have been cheering us on, and those who haven't, and those who criticize, those who usually because they misunderstand. But you know what? That's one of the most expensive parts of leadership that rarely anyone talks about. Is that you're going to be misunderstood.
It's true.
If you step out in faith and seek to do something for God, you can guarantee it. As many people are going to be happy about it, some will just not care. There are going to be some who think they know why you're doing what you're doing. They think they understand it when they really don't. And they draw conclusions.
They attribute motive when it's not the correct motive. They oftentimes attribute a nefarious motive behind what you're trying to do. When a lot of times you're just trying to serve God. You're trying to get the gospel out. You're trying to do the best.
Right. And I would say the biggest one for me is it would be the people who imagine that I think that I know everything. But if you were to sit down with me for 5 minutes, you would really quickly realize that's the exact opposite of the idea. Now, I do know that I have learned some things because I've been poured into. I've been invested in, and I have gained personal experience because I've served God now for 11 years, 24/7, 365 days of the year.
Giving your life to
110%. Giving every dollar, every second, every opportunity. But I mean, that's why I have 1,500 books. That's why we travel around the country to different places to learn what's going on. We are lifelong learners.
Constantly learning.
And constantly learning. We definitely haven't arrived, and we're always changing and adapting. We're not changing what we believe.
Yeah.
The core values, the core beliefs that we have, they're not for sale. They're not to change. But so many other things we're learning.
So what would you say, what's next? What's the next
For
thing?
the church?
Yeah.
The next for the church is when Pastor Sexton talked to Lee Robertson, what did he say? More
of the same.
Of the same.
Yep.
And so what we're going to do is more of the same. We're going to keep winning souls. We're going to keep teaching the Bible. My plan is to have 100 Sunday school classes.
Wow.
My plan is to have many, many, many more bus routes and Bible clubs and in the schools. And we're starting a Christian school this fall, so we're stepping out in faith. We're renovating a part of the building that God miraculously gave to us. That's an unbelievable part of what's going on. You know, there has been literally in this journey of 5 years, and our theme this year is 5 years of victory.
Yeah.
And there have literally been, we're working hard, we're doing everything we can, but then there are just moments when God steps in.
And it's so obvious.
You know, God from heaven just goes,
yeah.
And his wind gets in our sails. He does things that on our best day, in our greatest moments, we never could have done.
Yeah, impossible things.
Like, for instance, now we have what I was just told recently is a $10 million property.
Amen.
You know? And now we're going to use that to start a school and begin educating children, boys and girls. And so we plan to continue to do more of the same. Our goal, of course, our church has a ministry of the Keys for Christ, and we plan to see 25 churches started and established, and training people to do God's work and helping them to do it is what we're a part of also.
Amen. You know, looking back and seeing all that God has done, hearing the story of this, it's a story that needs to be told. And I can really see why you say, this has been 5 years of victory. It's been one right after the other, after the other. And of course, we give God all the glory for what he's doing. Now, let me ask you this. What would you like for people as they're watching and listening to this? What would you like for them to take away after hearing a story like this?
The number one thing that I would say is that anything is possible.
Amen.
And that the God of yesterday is the God of today. And that if we would be willing to step out in faith and be excited about what we believe and to work really hard at what we believe and getting the gospel out and loving people. Many churches, humans are like a pendulum. Yeah. And it's like, we're way over here.
Right.
And they're like, well, that's not right. So now we're way over here.
Living in response.
Well, that's not right. And sometimes you have churches that are so strong on the truth. They're almost ready to knock people over the head with the Bible, Yeah. And then you have other side where they say, well, we just love everyone and everything is good and everything is okay and every belief is equal and you find these things where it's like it's almost like it's burnt on one side and raw on the other. Yeah. But if anywhere you go in the world and do God's work God's way and you genuinely love people, you have compassion, which makes the difference, and you faithfully with enthusiasm teach the Bible and give the gospel, God does it.
Amen.
And I don't think that it matters who you are. I don't think it matters if you have a degree or not, if you look a certain way, talk a certain way, if you have certain resources. It's God. And that's what I'd like for anyone to take. I'd say jump in the fight.
Amen.
Like throw a dart at a map and say that place needs a church because it needs Jesus.
Yes.
And Jesus is, the church is Jesus' body. So every time a church comes to town, Jesus is in town. And get started. I know a lot of people make a big deal about geography. Yeah. Where is God leading me? Where is God leading me? I've never felt that way. My idea about it is anywhere that you are giving the gospel, making disciples, and serving in a local New Testament church that is within the uttermost part of the earth, I think that you're living in the literally black and white will of God that he wrote down in this book.
That's true.
That's called the Bible.
I believe it.
And if you're winning souls in Atlanta, when God wanted you to be in town, I don't think he's going to be that upset. If you're winning souls and serving him, I think you're doing the greatest thing.
I think you're right. Now,
but we got to try. I think that's what's happening. I think there's a lot of people who think they need to be something that nobody is. Yeah. They're waiting for ideal circumstances. They're waiting for a church with hundreds of people, a salary, or this or that. I don't know what they're waiting for. but they've got to launch because anything is possible with God.
Right. And as Lee Robertson said, it's wide open. It's wide open. All we have to do is launch out, attempt great things for God. And every time we've seen it, every time you've tried it, where we've had to go out on the edge, and there's been lots of times when it made no sense.
Oh, it's fearful. There's many sleepless nights.
And there's a big possibility of massive failure.
Right. The only thing that is literally guaranteed is failure.
Right.
Unless something happens, failure is inevitable.
But there's been many things like that. But every single time, God has met us time and time again. It's happened for you here at the Southernmost Baptist Church. Happened for me at the Marathon Baptist Church.
What a day we had yesterday.
That day was incredible. I mean, unbelievable. And we're all calling it the miracle at Marathon.
Amen.
And I think
that's what we need to talk about next.
Next time we meet, we're going to talk about it.
So blessed.
Be good.